Hey, this is Pamela Riemenschneider. I'm the retail editor for Blue Book Services, and this is the Produce Reporter Week in Review. Snazzy shirt you got there, Greg.
I like yours too. I think the Viva Fresh was the first place that we rolled out our new look in front of the whole industry. Did you get some nice feedback?
I did. I got some decent feedback. People are a little like, "Hey, wait a minute. That's not the seal that we know." But it's the new one, and everyone grows and changes.
Yes.
Everyone evolves. So we are still the same Blue Book, still the same great analysis. And you have to go check out all the new things that rolled out with the new Blue Book Online. Too many to go through right here because we got retail news, we got Aldi news, and we got a rundown of Viva Fresh. And I had just, I mean, I was a little worried about going to Houston, gonna be honest. Houston for me, it's an overwhelming town. It's huge. The downtown there's a lot of fun stuff to do. And but I really think that most of the folks that I talked to liked the change. Viva Fresh will be there next year, and before we move back to the Hill Country outside of San Antonio. A record crowd again, more than 2,700. They never give you the final count, but about 100 more than last year. Some really good discussions, especially the one that you and I briefly mentioned last week with the tomato suspension agreement.
Yeah, they had a clever title to it, didn't they? TSA.
TSA pre-check, it's something that they had Devin Sykes, who is an attorney representing Mexican tomato growers, give us a rundown of, and it's just as complicated as getting through the TSA when you have something that you're questionable about. So honestly, halfway through that session, all of us needed a visual. We needed a flow chart. We needed that guy with all the strings on the billboard, the bulletin board, trying to, if this happens, then this happens. So Mr. Sykes laid out a few things for us. Three possible things that could happen with the Florida Tomato Exchange's challenge to the suspension agreement. So we haven't heard anything from the Commerce Department since November about that. So that brings up a question that we'll get to in a minute. Here's what could happen. The Commerce Department could say, no, we're not going to do anything about this challenge, and it will continue as is. Number two, they could say, you know what, we should renegotiate some of the terms, like the floor price, and then renegotiate it, but keep it as is. And number three, which would be the nuclear kill step, which nobody in the import community wants. If they terminate the suspension agreement due to this challenge, then it will immediately go into anti-dumping duties that will last at least 5 years. And it's a thing where there's a 90-day wind down, then a year of evaluation for the right dumping duties, and then like 5 years of anti-dumping duties where we're kind of at the mercy here as far as the import community goes.
Well, not
So
only that, but that would be against our largest trade partner. So there will be repercussions, as we've
right.
seen in these other disputes with Asian countries or European. A lot of times produce gets caught in the crossfire of like steel tariffs. And this is
Right.
direct produce. So I would expect produce retaliation. I mean, you got
Right.
avocados in your background. We're the number one market for Mexican avocados too.
And here's a couple of things that are compounding the issue. We're in an election cycle. Most of us in the United States know that we're in an election cycle. Did you also know that Mexico is in an election cycle right now?
I did
So
know. Yes.
that's making it a little more challenging as well.
Oh, what could happen because of the election cycles? So did Sykes say we don't know what's going to happen with the politics of it?
Yeah, we don't know what's going to happen with the politics of it. The ITC, the International Trade Commission, is currently down to, I think he said, people that are on that. That is a nonpartisan, non-governmental, actually. They're not elected officials that are named to this. It's people outside of politics but they have to be 3 Republicans and 3 Democrats There's some politics in there, but it has to remain neutral as far as which side of the aisle they're on. But the political challenges are just slowing things down, and that's not anything new. Like a lot of the times when we get into like the election cycle, nothing happens, and that could be what's going on with the Commerce Department's challenge. And this is the question that I had that I didn't really get an answer to is, are we just riding this out and until we get to part 2 of what could happen with the tomato suspension? Every 5 years, the tomato suspension agreement is subject to a sunset review. And the sunset review is something that is completely separate from the ITC challenge or the Department of Commerce challenge. And they will start in August, and they will take a look at what would happen if they cancel the agreement. Is there harm? Do we need to renegotiate? All this stuff that we have questions in the challenge, but the challenge is the nuclear option. The sunset review, if they just sunset it and let it go away, we would go back to free market with no anti-dumping duties, and that's not likely to happen. Mr. Sykes even said that has never happened in the history of the tomato suspension agreement. They have never decided, you know what, we're just going to do away with it in its entirety. So couple of different things, a lot of confusing things going on, confused even more by politics. And the thing that really stuck out to me in this whole conversation is when they're talking about we've got 700 some odd number of tariffs and duties and import things like this. 8 of them are similar to the tomato suspension agreement, where it's a suspension agreement type situation. And this one is the most studied. It is the most scrutinized. They're subject to random audits. They're subject to quarterly reports. It is very tightly controlled. And so there are a lot of eyes on this. And obviously, of course, when we're talking about inflation and people being able to afford groceries, the potential that tomatoes could become quite a bit more expensive is scary. And the bottom line was the walk away from this whole session was that even though the comment period is closed on the challenge, even though there's not any more official hearings or anything like that as far as the challenge goes, it's still a good idea to talk to your elected official to make sure that they understand where you stand on this.
So did they give you any idea of when some kind of decision could be reached? Would it be before November?
No idea. Nobody seemed to think that it was going to happen soon. But of course it could happen tomorrow. So, but I always wonder if they're just going to let the challenge ride out until we get to the sunset review and deal with it through the sunset review. So, who knows? I don't know if we got any more answers than we were hoping to get. The question and answer period was lengthy and very detailed, and a lot of people had a lot of questions, and there was a lot of confusion.
We will have that for our readers as soon as it comes out.
Funny thing was though, the Canadians in the room, they spoke up a little bit, but I feel like they're just kind of like sitting back and watching with popcorn. Although many of them have interests in Mexico, but there were a fair number of them in the room.
Well, we also have some retail news, right?
Like too much retail news to really cover. We've got Wawa putting 30 stores in North Carolina. We've got Wegmans also going to North Carolina. We've got SpartanNash buying one store, and then not one store, but a chain in Wisconsin. And then we've got Hy-Vee buying Strachan Van Til. That's a lot.
Yeah, that kind of came out of nowhere, it seems like. And then as soon as we see that, we're like, oh, there's going to be Hy-Vee stores in Indiana now.
No,
that's actually that's not the case.
Apparently not yet. For me, when I read through this whole thing, it tells me that there aren't any Hy-Vees in Indiana yet. So Strachan Van Til has 22 stores in Northwest Indiana, a lot of them around Indianapolis, I believe. I don't know. I'd have to look at the map again.
Northwest is like Chicago suburbs.
Okay. So they've got 22 stores, and they, according to the news release, are going to continue to operate under the Strachan Van Til banner, and they are also an AWG company. So they're still getting their sourcing through AWG, which, you know, Hy-Vee is self-distributing. Hy-Vee has a lot of its own private labels. So we had some questions on, will you see Hy-Vee, the Hy-Vee name anywhere associated with Strachan Van Til? But according to this news release, so far, no. And to round out the retail news, Greg, where's your prop? Where's your
Oh, of course.
You're gonna
Talk
wear
about
this in Aldi because they're gonna start. Here we are talking about how retailers are getting out of the self-checkout gig, although Aldi has put it in quite a few stores. Aldi has decided to do a checkout free shopping experience. So you can live your Aldi checker dreams doing the checkout free thing. And they're just doing it. And the thing is, they're doing it at an existing full-size store. Do Aldi's have tiny stores? I don't think they did.
I think they vary in size a little bit, but they're all small.
Yeah. So they're going to do it in Aurora, Illinois, which is in the Chicago area. And they're giving it a trial. And it's the thing where it's where you check out as you go in the store. These are always a challenge for me because I'm the type of person to throw something in my cart and then decide on it later and then take it back before I check out. So this kind of tells me that if I don't want an item, I'm not going to pick it up in the first place. But if you are just trying to get in there and get going, that seems like a fun thing to do.
That is one of the benefits of the Aldi shopping experience. It can be very quick. There are not many aisles. If you go to the checkers, they are the fastest in the business. And if you do it on your own, it's pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah, I'm sure the checkers for Aldi, when they saw this news, they were just like, sure, whatever, man. Here I
Yeah, what more
am.
do you want from me?
This is my career. This is like I got my numbers up to lightning speed. And here you go trying to let these chuckleheads walk through the store and check out their own groceries. This is not how we operate. But I think it's fun. It's something different. And the pain point of most grocery shopping experiences, and which I have also had at Aldi, is if they don't have the checkout, the self-checkout in an Aldi, and you are in there on stock up day, you can stand in line for quite a while. Even though those checkers are fast, the lines are usually long because there's usually one, maybe two open at any given time. And most of the Aldis I've ever been to only have 3 total. I've never seen an Aldi with more than 3 checkout lines, except in Germany. I've seen them
Yeah,
with
my
5 or
Aldi,
6.
since they put in the self-checks, they only have 2 manned lines, and usually only one is manned.
Yeah, because there's only like 4 people working in an Aldi at any given time because that's their business model. I
Right.
mean, they know what they're doing as far as we can tell. But it'll be interesting to see if they actually continue to go with this because this is just a pilot. It's not something that they have announced any plans to do on a widespread basis. So they may just try it and say, hey, this doesn't work for our business model and move on. So I would be interested next time we're up in Chicago, if it's still there, I would maybe try it. I don't know, just for giggles. And I'd have to wear my Aldi swag, or I'd have to get some new Aldi swag because I didn't keep that sweatshirt. It wasn't for me. I'll take my Blue Book gear.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I've got enough. Well, I mean, is there ever enough, really?
I should have got the sneakers. Everyone at Viva Fresh told me I should have got you the sneakers. And except for my son told me, no, Mom, don't do it. They're old man shoes. And I was like, well,
Um, that part doesn't offend me. The part about having old man shoes is usually they're very comfortable because they go over old man feet. And I'm not wearing $20 Aldi shoes that hurt my, I won't say how old, but feet.
All right.
Yeah,
Well,
Aurora,
that's
Illinois is pretty close to the mothership. I think next time we're there, we have to make a field trip.
definitely, we're going to have to do that. I'm going to make you do a retail store check video. We've already done it in Amazon Fresh. We're going to check in on Amazon Fresh again and see if they're any busier than they were the last time we were there. Maybe get some Krispy Kreme because apparently that's the way that they're going to draw people into their stores.
Yeah, that doesn't That doesn't work for everyone.
Chicago's a Dunkin' town anyway.
Well, it's not Boston, but yeah, it's not existing.
All right, that's it for the Produce Reporter Weekend Review. If you are not getting the Produce Reporter newsletter, you need to go to producebluebook.com and sign up. And I will see you next week in Vancouver.
Yeah, and the following week I'll be in Phoenix.
All right, it's the travel season.